welcome to the Ultra Running Sam podcast. So quickly, our sponsors. We are proudly sponsored by Yugoku caps. You've seen me wearing them on the podcast. You can get the discount codes from me, send me a message. I'll send them to you. They're floating around. We're also sponsored by Phoenix head torches. Same thing goes. If you're after a discount code, just get in touch. There are there on the web, but if you want them personally from me, I will send them to you. And also, finally, we are proudly sponsored by Home Trails. So Home Trails is my YouTube series interviewing famous trail runners from hopefully around the world at some point. In the UK at the moment, where we interview them on the trail in the home trails. You understand what it is, don't you? You've listened to the show. That's hopefully turning into a bit of a brand, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Okay, on with the actual show. Okay, so quick advert just here. So Ranger Ultras. So if you've been inspired by, the Spine race recently and you want a extended routes challenge, and obviously trying to get into the Spine race is difficult at the best of times, but if you want a local, friendly, great value for money, long trail experience, then Ranger Ultras offers he's got loads of races on. Stu Westfield's got loads of races on, but the one that we're doing an advert for is the Pennine Bridleway Trail Challenge. So the PB 270 is the full distance. So that is 168 miles, and it is Middleton Top to Kirkby Stevens. So 168 miles, 100 hours. This will be the third time that he's put the race on. There's also the shorter version, which is the PB 137. Now, for that one, it's got a 50-hour cut off, and you go from Hebden Hay to Kirkby Stevens. So it's, the Pennine Bridleway follows a similar route up the country as to the Pennine Way, but obviously it's more runnable trail. So if you don't fancy falling in a bog, this is the one for you. So there's still the same sort of great scenery, but more runnable trails. So if you fancy a challenge in April, so that takes place over the first week in April. So registration's on the 2nd of April, and the race starts on the 3rd of April. Is that the case with both races? Let's just have a quick look at the races. Yeah, first. So for the big one, you start on the 2nd. So race registration's on the 1st of April, April Fool's Day. Some people might say that you're a fool for doing such a long race. And you've got 100 hours. So you set off on the 2nd of April. So if you want to get your fix of a long trail, you want sort of a more budgetable race, but the same sort of views and the same sort of distances as the Spine, then this could be your gateway drug into the long stuff. So get in touch and we'll see if we can figure out with Stu whether there's some things we can do with discounts or anything that we can sort of figure out. But basically, this is the advert for it. So go and get your trail fix with Ranger Ultras in April with the PB 137 and the PB 270. Go, sign up now. Right, we are recording. So welcome to the Ultra Running Sam podcast. Sam Skinner.
Thanks for having me on. It feels like I've seen you a few times in the last couple of weeks, doesn't it?
Yeah, just like appearing out of a hedge.
Yeah.
or like a bar in Kirkyavam or something, just like pouncing on you, accusing you of stealing my sliders.
I'll tell you what, I listened to your podcast with old Ewan. I reckon those flip-flops did the rounds a bit, didn't they? I reckon you should sort of hire them out or something next year, go into something different.
Well, I think there's a gap in the market that I've seen, which is people at the end of the Spine not wanting to touch any shoes that they've used for the race, obviously, because there's the last thing you want to do is put those horrible grotty shoes back on, even if they're dry.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to remember what I did last year. I must have had. No, I know what I did last year because I had a spare pair of Ultras that I did not touch the whole race. I wore my Merrill Peak Agility 5, whatever they are, with the Gore-Tex ones with the zip up the front, and they worked perfectly. And I didn't change my shoes at all. And I got to Kirk Yeverman in the mid, whatever time it was, in the middle of the night, and I just put on my spare pair of brand new Ultras that I'd not even worn. I think I must have tried them on in the shop, and that was it, and just had them in my bag ready as my spare shoes, and never used them. So I went home. One of the few people went home in like clean, fresh shoes.
Yeah,
But
bugger that. I did not want to see a pair of trainers after that race.
the
Yeah, your
last,
sliders looked a lot more inviting. Yeah.
so they were your sliders then, weren't they?
Mate, I think you and I had the same ones, which was even more confusing
Same.
after sort of 4 days no sleep or whatever.
Yeah.
Then you got the same pair of sliders as me, near
Yeah.
on the same size. And yeah, I think I had because mine were really dirty.
Hey,
And
mine are the
then,
same. Mine are the
yeah,
same.
yeah. And then someone said, "Oh, they're Sam's flip flops," and I was, yeah, getting right confused. But
Well,
I came home with a pair anyway. So whether they were yours or mine,
so I think you had an excuse
yeah,
for being confused, whereas
yeah,
for me it was just like I was like, you've got my sliders on now. I thought I'd given them to
yeah,
Tia. What's going on? They've been handed around. So,
yeah.
but,
Oh,
but anyway,
seems like
how
a distant memory now. It's
yeah, it does feel like a long time ago, and it wasn't
yeah,
really long ago, was it?
no, what was it? Sort of 15, 16 days ago, was it?
Yeah, January is like
Well,
it's
isn't it?
going to be gone into soon. Have you done your tax return?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I think it's been done. Just um, everything got put on hold for the spine
Yeah,
for the
it
last minute.
does. Yeah, it does. Yeah,
Nice, isn't it?
life gets put on hold for the spine race, doesn't it? You just think there's things that you've got to do before the race, and that's all you can think of, and then everything else just becomes, um, yeah, after spine. What would you call that? AS
Yeah.
after spine.
The amount of times I said that to people, look, I'll give you that answer after the spine, or we discuss that after the spine. But we're here now, so the year must go on. But,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
been nice. Spent, been swimming with the kids and just had some nice sort of family time and stuff. So it's been nice.
yeah.
Straight
Good.
back into work, but evenings have all been about family, which has been
It's
good.
it's funny, isn't it? Because you're a family man, same as me, and you, our families like they understand this obsession that we have with racing and especially with the spine and stuff. But I did, I kind not that I took them for granted, but I think I took the fact that they just let me do all the training that I needed to do and
Yeah,
just throwing myself into that race and literally, like you say, life becomes it's a bit binary. It's like zeros and ones. So zero is after the spine, and the one is before the spine, and life becomes before and after the spine, and your life gets consumed by it, doesn't it? And your family sort of just accept that. And I think yeah, that's always like a bit of a shout out to the wives
definitely.
and children of spiners that put up with us like all
Yeah,
year going on about it and how I need this little bit of kit. I've got to get this bit of kit. I need this. And can you do the race without it? No, I can't. I need that specific piece of kit and I've got to get it now. So
yeah. My son, he loved telling me that after the race, one of his teachers, mid lesson, called for him or emailed him and said, "Could you come to my office?" And said, "What was your dad's tracking number?" And they were sat there tracking me on the race. So he felt a bit, yeah, he felt quite special on that because his sports teachers were really,
oh
really into
amazing.
it and following. So that was quite refreshing.
Yeah. It's good into
Nice, sort of the whole community got involved. I make no, bones about it. We raised some money for a children's cancer charity. So quite a lot of the local community were following it, which was really nice, and they all got behind me. And it's quite nice seeing all those spine messages at the end, isn't it?
oh, there's too many, isn't there? There's
There's
too
so
many.
many. I've got them all printed off. I've just about gone through them, and it's yeah. It's special.
It's funny the story that goes on behind the scenes, isn't it? So while you're racing, you forget the fact that your family and all your mates are all there checking the tracker and they're putting messages on there for you and stuff. And I'd like was completely oblivious to the fact that people were sending messages and stuff. I never even realised that people were sending messages until the end. And James Furlow came over and he was like, um, "I want to give you all your messages, but the printers ran out of paper."
Yeah,
That's
it's
so
it's
funny.
it's crazy, isn't it? It's like with Dragon going back to other races. I did Dragons back a couple of times, and you're in that. It's similar to the spine. You're in that bubble, like the
Yeah,
Dragon's back bubble. But at the end of each day, obviously, you go back to camp and you sort of read the messages. I used to read the messages, the Dragon mail before. I used to go out for that day, which used to give you a right old chivvy up, or some mates sort of would write sort of deep sort of sayings and quotes and stuff like that, and it sort of got you a bit psyched up. But of course, when you're on the spine, it's continuous, so you never, unless you're looking at the spine app, which I definitely wasn't doing. Um, you can't see those messages, can you? So it's quite nice at the end going through them all, and
a little
it's
reminder.
crazy to see how many people were watching in and dialing in and following the dot.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah,
Right, before we get right into the spine, what we should do is do the superhero question. So
yeah.
if you've heard any of the podcasts before, then for new guests to the show, I do the superhero question. So um, as ultra runners, we're all superheroes in one way or another. So superheroes have an origin story or a backstory. Now, what is your superhero origin story for ultra running? I know that you've got like a proper intense backstory, haven't you? What
Mm.
you sort of go back as far as you like and sort of
Yeah,
give any details that you want to or don't want to. That's fine. Just
yeah,
give us your story.
yeah. So I had my background. I was really sporty at school, sort of captain of the football team, etc. Played quite a high level of football. Played for Southampton Academy when I was younger for a number of years, up to about 14, 15, and then went on to Eastleigh Football Club. When yeah, I went away. I went. I've shared this story before, but I went away to the Youth World Cup in Gothenburg, under 17s, I think, or under 16s, and then got into the sign for the first team, got back, and then I literally just gave up football as soon as I came back. So I think that was where sort of I started drinking a bit between sort of obviously 17, 18, um, and then things got a little bit, quite bad, and I needed to start up something that was going to keep me off the booze, if I'm honest. Um,
Mm,
Always held down, I did an apprenticeship straight from school. I was always hard working, but I always had that on my shoulder, the drink, sort of going to the pub culture, etc. Um, and it did probably ruin that part of my football career, if I'm honest, because I like going out and stuff like that. But yeah, started up boxing, um, and it was great. The discipline for boxing. I don't know if you know too much about it, but I had quite a number of bouts in the end, and that it was great. And obviously, we had children in between, and I stopped boxing in about 2013, 14 when I had my second child.
mm,
Um, and yeah, went out to so my last bout was 2013 or 14 out in Sweden. I went and boxed at the Malmo Cup, so I got to a half decent level. Um, and
You
then
still drinking at this point?
I was a binge drinker, so I wasn't an everydayer. But when I went out, I went out, and yeah, there was always there was consequences to the drinking um, on some occasions, which I won't go into. But then I sort of started up. I had 2 or 3 years where it got quite bad, and I ended up in rehab. So yeah, I just took myself out of society, and yeah, so when I got introduced to a program, which I still work today, but away from that, I set myself challenges to sort of keep me on the straight and narrow, if you like. I'm one of those people where I need something to sort of focus me, And when I go into something, I go into something hard. So you probably know what's coming next. I started off with literally, I put on loads of weight after boxing. Um, Started off with 5, 10Ks, and then yeah, I went straight into a marathon in 20. I think it was 2015 or 16, something like that, the Portsmouth Coastal. And then I met a mate called Ian, um, who is the reason why I started up trail running. He introduced me to trail running, met up with him, went for a trail run, and he just opened my eyes to a whole different sport. He told me about the UTMB and all the races, and I was hooked, and entered a few trail races, local races, and I got a bit serious about it. I think when I had my last drink in November 2019. So ever since then, I've upped it a bit each year, and um, yeah, I haven't really looked back. And so what started off as like a marathon started up to went to Dragon's Back in 21 and back in 22 because I broke my foot on day 5. And yeah, I just love to challenge myself. And there's a whole next part of the story is the running club that we've set up locally and things like that, where we've got ex addicts and all sorts of police officers, lawyers, and there's this whole community. And as you know, it's a special community, and everyone sort of looks out for each other, and it's just fantastic. So yeah, that's my brief superhero story. Um, Football, boxing, rehab, and then yeah, life that I can only dream of living now with trail running. And I believe that it's a journey, and that things are. I'm learning things all the time, and my best performances are yet to come because yeah, I just feel like I'm taking on so much knowledge and training with the right people, and yeah, so it's my brief.
That's good. That's good, mate.
Yeah,
What are your thoughts on then? So over the years, I used to think that people that did ultra running were people with addictive personalities. You know, for example, um, Ali Bailey, for example, Jack Scott. Um, I would also put myself into that category as well. When you were saying how when you get into something, you really get into something and you throw yourself into it. That's exactly what I've been like my whole life. Is I was sort of trying over the years. I've tried to sort of quantify, why I get so obsessed with things and I do them do them to destruction sometimes, And fortunately for me, it was when I was younger. It was um, alcohol to a certain degree, but it was more partying and the things that go along with that. That was my sort of escape from reality. And then I managed to sort of drag myself back in, and running was the thing that sort of saved me as well,
yeah,
back on the straight and narrow. But also, there's another class of ultra runner that I've seen as well. Is that you've also got this other class of like highly educated people with quite good jobs that are
yeah,
really good at problem solving and are really good at ultras. And now I'm like, I don't really know what your prototypical ultra run is. So someone who's successful, maybe that's it. Maybe they're the two classes that you're either like super intelligent and got a high flying job and you thrive on problem solving, like the John Kellys of the world,
Yeah,
people like that. And there's lots of doctors and vets that are really good ultra runners.
yeah,
And then you've got the other side of things, which is like the ex addicts and stuff. So
yeah.
so we're in our
I think
class.
you're right. Yeah,
You're in good company, mate.
yeah. No, yeah. I think I've yeah, it's quite interesting. Obviously, I saw you at the running show at the weekend, and listen, Ali Bailey. So she's so real, and I think she's great for the sport because, like you say, you do see a lot of um, people from different backgrounds, but you do get your stereotypical, um, like what you just said. Then you're highly intelligent people, but then there is, you go to a stand at the weekend and you've got these ex addicts on there talking about recovery running, and it was just fantastic, and I proper connected. Um, but yeah, it's I suppose I just like testing myself to the limits now. It's yeah, the spine was fantastic.
Yeah, that performance. So I knew you were on my radar. You've been on my radar for quite a while. So it was John Shield that was like, right, you need to get Sam on. And I was like, right, okay. That sort of looked you up and saw what you've been doing and everything. So I got in touch with you, and we did have a podcast arranged. Well, we didn't have one arranged. We were going to book one in, weren't we, before the
Well,
spine?
yeah,
And
yeah,
I kind of, although it was John that had sort of, hooked me up on the idea of getting in touch with you. But I quite like the idea of talking to people before the spine who kind of like have a good feeling about and know that they're going to do like a good, something special is going to happen. And I had the same experience with Jack Scott that someone sort of said to me, "Oh, there's this lad in my running club, and he's doing the spine for the second time, and the way that he's talking, it sounds like he's really going to go for it." And it was
yeah,
and it was the year that Jack sort of burst onto the scene and took seconds in the spine. And since then, I always listen to people when they sort of give me people that they think are going to do well at the race and stuff, and I always try and get them booked in. So even if it's someone I've never heard of, I'll take someone's recommendation, and you were one of the recommendations for this year. So I knew that sort of coming into the race, even though we didn't get to chat before the race
yeah.
properly, I knew that you were going to do something special, and sure,
That was
sure enough, sure enough, you were like right there at the front, weren't you?
Yeah, no, that was my sort of my bad. I know you got in touch, and I was going to do a podcast, but then I'll be honest with you, I wanted my running to do the talking a bit this year, and I felt I did that. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? And yeah, I knew what shape I was in and who I'd train with, and I breccied the whole course, and yeah, I went up there on that. I'm sure we'll go into it in a minute, but on that Storm Dara or whatever you want to call it. I went up across Crossfell on there. It was sort of 95 mile an hour wind. So I'd done sections of the course which they would have held you back if that was
yeah,
on
yeah, they
the
would have.
race. So mentally I'd already been across sections of that course. When I shouldn't have done. I think Jack Scott, you mentioned his name. They turned round with a group on that day. And I was going over it, and having that mental part, I mentioned before about the snow and all that. None of that bothered me because we were all doing it. We were all going across there in the snow. There wasn't anyone that was different, and you just had to, get on with it. And that's what I'm like. I trust myself and my training, um, and I trust my mindset. No one, I don't believe. I've been to some dark places, as I've mentioned, and mentally, um, I feel that I can't be broken.
Yeah,
Physically I might, or I might get injured, and I appreciate that and all that. But mindset wise, I work on on the psychological side daily, and I'm very confident on that side, which I think is very important with ultra running.
Yeah. So do you feel that this is something I always feel is to be true, is that if you've had a bit of a rough life, things have happened to you as you've grown up, if you've not had like the best start in life or things have gone wrong, that sets you up really well to be an ultra runner and specifically for a race like the Spine, where it's almost like a metaphor. I know they talk about 100 miles being life in a day, but I think like the Spine is probably more of a metaphor for life, isn't it? The way that things can go horribly sideways. You can face, things that seem like problems that seem insurmountable, but you get through. The light always comes. Day always comes, and it's kind of like a metaphor for life. Do you feel like the stuff that you've sort of been through in your previous life before you were an ultra running have like sort of set you up to be a real, as good as you are?
Yeah, definitely, and that's why I touched on. It's the journey, and you could if I say to you, oh, I'm in no rush, and you look at the races I've done in the short period of time in the last 5 years, since I've been sober, then you'll say, yeah, well, he's contradicting himself. But I am trusting the journey and respecting, what I'm picking up on the way, and like I said to you before, that performance was probably at this moment in time the best performance that I could achieve with what I know to date, i.e., you're sleeping, you're napping on course. I was, running with John Kelly on that first 100 and or so miles, and I think me and Dave and you and we beat him to horse, and we were watching him. He was napping so frequently. It was amazing to watch. You'd run with him, and then he'd just drop down and, hey guys, I'm napping, and and I was just like, boom, just carried on, and then he'd disappear again. Um, so yeah, I'm definitely gonna, I'll take what John was doing, and I'll try and incorporate maybe a little bit of that into my training as well, and get out on course, if I was to do the race again, or when I do the race again, and practice this, because I didn't practice it enough on the build up to the Spine, and that's what cost me probably a few positions. I think is my sleep,
Mm.
the same as it did on the Winter Downs 200. So again, that's something I've learned, and we're always learning, all of us. Me, you, anyone. Um, you know, Speaking about Jack again, he learned from his 30. I mean, he DNF'd his first Spine,
Mm.
and he went away, worked on himself, worked on him as an athlete psychologically, and look what he produced the next 2 years. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm I'm a sponge. I'm just learning the whole time, and I'm really enjoying it.
Mm. That must have sort of been, did it feel like a bit of a, crazy scenario? The fact that you were like up at the front of the Spine and you were, right at the sharp end of a race that you've probably seen on YouTube and on the TV and stuff, and then suddenly you're there. Did that feel a bit surreal to be in that sort of situation and your first Spine?
Um, like if I'm totally honest, when you say it aloud, it it's quite hard to think, yeah, actually you were, but in a way, no, because I did, I keep going on about who I've been training with. I was up there with Kim Collison 3 weeks or 4 weeks before doing Greenhead to Kurt Yotholm, and I even tell you, when we finished the recce, he touched the wall, and I said to him, Kim, you've just touched the wall. That's bad luck. And I was trying to get in his head a bit then, but he's such a gentleman. He's such a lovely man, and we had a good bit of banter. And again, you're up there with some of the greats like Kim, who's done so much in the sport, and I tried explaining to Mike, she said, oh, how did it go up there with with Kim, and other people I've trained with, and it's like, well, yeah, I deserve to be training with him because I, keep up with him, and um, I put in the effort and the hours and the early mornings. And so, in answer to your question, yeah, I said to people that were close to me and people that know me well, I want a top 10 at the spine, and that's what I went and did. And so yeah, I
Yeah, that's interesting. That sort of mindset that yeah, for us on the outside, that's how it looked. It looked like Sam Skinner, never done the spine before. Look, he's running at the sharp end of the race with all the guys at the front. But for you, you've already had that experience, haven't you? You're already running with those people of that level and that standard. So it wouldn't feel unnatural to you, would it? So me asking whether that felt surreal, it probably only feels surreal for us to see it from the outside, whereas you're in it and it just feels right.
yeah, yeah, no, and yeah, yeah. So it to come where I was, and the whole, you know, I dropped back a few places, and if you can say the woulda, coulda, shouldas, but I believe that that was meant to happen. All those things that happened on that race. I fell over, I smacked my knee on a stile, I did this, I did that, but I think it was Damien that told me a few months back. He said, "Sam, you've got to be adaptable," and he's right, and it's like anything in life, isn't it? So things get thrown at you all the time, and you've just got to be adaptable. If you just curl up in a ball, it's like me saying, when the drink got a hold of me, if I'd have just let it win and curl up in a ball and drink myself to death, then that's, and that would have happened. I make no bones about that. That would, Um, so yeah, it's we're always working on ourselves. We're always working on um, different ways we can better ourselves, help others, and I'm a big believer that that comes back tenfold.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Just sort of thinking about your sort of final position then. So you came in seventh. You were seventh, weren't you?
I think seventh or eighth, one, yeah,
Yeah, seventh.
eighth or so. I'm not sure. I'm honestly not sure. Yeah, it was
Um,
about that. Yeah,
so for the
Robert and I
majority of the
came
race,
together.
yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Yeah,
So for the majority of the race, you were up there. I remember seeing you at Dufton, and you looked. I remarked to a few people that you looked like fresh at Dufton.
yeah. You give me the kiss of death, didn't you?
And
Yeah.
but you were yeah you were up there at the front, weren't you?
Mm.
And you looked like you were taking it all in your stride, sort of thing. So and I know you sort of like said that maybe I jinxed you a little bit, but what if you can you look back on it now and see not where things went wrong, because like you say, what happened happened and there's nothing you can do about it, but
Yeah.
if things were different, what would you sort of go back and sort of address to make sure that things didn't unravel, or vice versa, sort of thing?
Yeah, so definitely I've made quite a number of notes. I wouldn't have gone into a bed in Hawes because I wasn't, although we'd had a long section gone through 3 foot of snow, and they reckon it was like the slowest year on record to get to Hawes. It was horrendous. Those snow drifts on the way into Hawes was, yeah, I'll never forget those. And it was freezing cold. But it was, you turn up there in the day, and like in the light, and I mean, I was faffing a little bit with with kit and things like that, and then I went and laid down. So I could have bought a bit of time there. Um, yeah, and just in a few checkpoints, really, I just wasn't ready to sleep, and I kept kidding myself. I was laying down, putting my stuff on charge, and going through my bag, and I just wasn't resting how I should. I think resting on the trails is, if the weather allows you to, is the way forward, and that's what a lot of the front runners were doing with Dave. I was running with Dave and you, and Dave's just brilliant on napping. I mean, he's quite comfortable. When you look at Lucy Gossage as well, what race she had. Wasn't scared to nap, trusted
Mm.
her process. I think Robin was so far in front at one point, wasn't she? But Lucy had done it last year. She'd worked on herself from what had happened last year, and that's what's so refreshing with this sport. You look at Lucy from last year, and what she did fantastic. Don't get me wrong, and anyone that finishes the spine or takes part or even has the bottle to even get on that start line is a winner in my eyes. However, when you can take yourself from 365 days, like Lucy, like Jack, work on where you went wrong or where you could have worked on yourself, and look at the performance that she had, and it's incredible, And I think I forget her stats of sleeping, but it was quite. And Kim, Kim slept for 3.5 hours. I probably, although my tracker said I'd stopped for so much, I don't even think I had an hour's kit because I was just so all over the place. And that was the rookie part of my race, I think, was, if I'm being totally honest, I'm a realist, was the napping. So yeah, I'll definitely work on that. And
It's a,
yeah,
it's a that's a, that the whole sleep thing is like it's a real interesting sort of subject, isn't it? Because
mm,
people's approaches to the race have changed, haven't they, over the years? So people used to sleep quite a bit, then it went to no, like having no sleep, trying to have as little as possible. And then Kim this year, he like was quite open about the fact that he was going to try and sleep more at checkpoints and everything. Um, but then you talk about people doing trail naps and
yeah,
that being like the best option. So I suppose it would all, like you say, it would depend on the weather as well, wouldn't it? So, if it's, the idea of lying down on a bit of grass and being cold, but getting 10 minutes appeals maybe more than, if it was like a storm condition and it was chucking it down with torrential rain, you're not going to want to try and lie down on the floor in mud, are you? But what's your sort of rationale then for going forward then about how you're going to sort of implement more naps? Are you purely just going to avoid checkpoints for sleeping and then just try and just literally just run until you drop on the floor and sleep?
yeah. Again, you're governed by the weather. As well. I think one of the highlights of that race for me, and I shared it before, was we had the Wolf Moon on that Monday night, I think it was, or the Tuesday, and I got my bivvy out on Hadrian's Wall. I was just done. I was running with Max up to there, that Finnish guy,
Yeah.
and he had napped at Alston, and I hadn't, and he went on, and I just said, "Look, you're gonna have to go on. I'll catch you up," and I didn't. And I got my bivvy out and I led him with the moon on Hadrian's Wall, and I did get a little bit of sleep on there. And I'll never forget, I woke up and this huge moon was like shining down on me, and it gave me like this big lift. And I'm quite spiritual anyway, with my history,
Mm.
and that gave me a big lift. And with that, Robin ran past, and I jumped on the old Robin Cassidy train, and her and I sort of, yeah, to and fro, and then we just ended up sticking together, and it was lovely. She's such a incredible athlete.
Mm.
Um, we had some good times on that last part of the race that I'll cherish those. She's a fantastic, fantastic lady,
Mm.
hard as nails, and
Mm.
nice with it as well.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, in answer to your question, weather dependent. I'll keep the cards a little bit close to my chest because you
Don't
got
give
to
away.
go out. Yeah, you got to go out and learn. And I've done the race now, so there's certain things I've picked up that I'm going to try and incorporate in the next one or whatever.
Mm.
But yeah, it's what an experience.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a life-changing thing, isn't it? And
Yeah.
unfortunately, like once you
What
get
about yourself? How did you nap? Did you nap at checkpoint?
well,
I know you got a bit unlucky, didn't you? Because you got an in. Was it an
yeah,
injury?
yeah, but I'm I sort of tried to carry my sleeping plan that I had for when I did Challenger North
Yeah,
in the summer before. I went through the first night absolutely fine, and then slept on the second night for like an hour and a half, something like that, 90 minute. I was like 90-minute sleep cycle. And that was perfect. Like I got through the next night and only had like a sort of 10-minute trail nap on the Cheviots. And I just thought naively thought, I can do that for the full spine as well. And I wouldn't need to sleep. But in the end I just ended up getting I wasted so much time at Alston. I came in there and just sort of faffed around so much and wasted time, and so I was behind schedule anyway. Um, and then yeah, I had a fall after Alston, and sort of banged
right.
my head and my hip and everything. So after that, it was just kind of the sleeps that I had were I lay down and tried to sleep at Bellingham, and I don't know how much sleep I really got there. And then the next sleep I had was like a 20 minutes in the church at Burness. Literally just I didn't even like bother getting any of my sleep stuff out. I just literally just lay on the floor between the pews, just like even with my pack still on, and just like lay on
Yeah,
my side and just passed out for about 20 minutes. And I think that was it until the end.
yeah.
Um,
You got it done though, didn't you?
yeah, that's it. Yeah, it was just a case of getting it done. But I've, I'm a determined person and I'm stubborn, and that's why I can get through ultras.
Yeah,
Um, but I still have like a bit of a self-preservation thing with sleep for some reason that I haven't pushed myself to the point where, well, I have, because I've slept on the trail in the summer, slept in the church in the winter.
yeah,
Um, but the whole, I remember Jack Scott saying to me that, that on the year that he came second, how he just literally just like would stand with his poles and lean against his poles and just like nod off and wait till he basically fell over and then carried on, or he would just like lie in the snow.
yeah.
My sort of like self-preservation switch sort of probably wouldn't let me do that, but that's maybe that's something that I can work on sort of in the future. I don't know,
Okay.
or whether that'll still be with me because I think it takes like a certain personality, doesn't it, to be able to be confident enough to be able to do stuff like that. To sort of, because for me, running the spine is like being, I know I'm not going to be near the front. So for me, it was more about sort of enjoying it and getting
Yeah,
through it without having to come back and do it again because I feel like I've got some unfinished business with it. So for me, like the whole process of getting to the finish sort of overtook any need for me to try and do anything that I would sort of term reckless for me, but not reckless for other people. Obviously, if
yeah.
you're doing trail naps so that you can, try and win the race, that's different. But for me, just getting to the finish was like priority. So yeah, maybe if I was quicker and I was closer to the front, then maybe I would be sleeping, just sleeping on the floor.
I think that's the other thing is running your own race in that you've got to run your own race. Again, if you ask me honestly, I was running in groups, groups of two, three, and with others at times. One of the best parts of the race was I left Alston because I had a bit of a when I was descending from Greg's Hut, I was feeling it a bit. I probably wasn't taking in the calories as much. I was tired. Got to Alston and had 4 plates of lasagna.
Nice.
Had a little lay down for about 15, 20 minutes. And that Max, he had left as I come in. And I just felt totally refreshed when I left there. And I put in some really decent climbing out of Alston, up through those fields and
Mhm.
yeah, I caught him back up, and we sort of matched each other's cadence, and we ran together for quite a while. But mate, you could have argued if I'd have had a bit longer at Alston or had a trail nap there, he might have, I might have ran with him for a bit longer, but I chose to try and nap on Hadrian's Wall, and that was part of my race. But yeah, moving forward, it'd probably be, instead of trying to hang on to people, mate, just run my own race a bit more and nap when I need to nap. And
Mm.
um, yeah,
It's funny, isn't it? Because sometimes it can feel like the right decision to stay with someone, can't it?
yeah,
If you just not that it's not that it's like an issue of being isolated or anything, because I don't know about you, but I like running on my own, especially in like isolated places. But sometimes you can, yeah, you're right. You can let other people sort of dictate your race a little bit. So I had that on when I did the full winter last year, and I sort of teamed up with a guy, and we had a great time. We were sort of chatting about sort of times we wanted to sort of finish it in and everything. It seemed like we were sort of pretty much sort of evenly matched. And he decided he wanted to, instead of running through the first night, he wanted to sort of power hike a lot of it. Whereas I was feeling like I could, after the first checkpoint at Hebden Hay, I was feeling like I could have pushed on a little bit, but I thought, oh, I'm going to stay with him because he seems like he kind of knows what he's talking about, and we've got similar goals for when we want to finish and stuff. So maybe I'll sort of take his advice, and we sort of stuck together, and we didn't run a lot through the night. We were sort of like power hiking and everything.
yeah,
Um, and then the next morning, I was sort of feeling fresh and ready to go, and I was like, new day, right? I'm going to push on today. Um, but he didn't. Over the course of the night, his knee was hurting, and he didn't want to run. So I'm like, I set off running then and left him. And I thought I probably should have done that the night before. So I probably should have just stuck with my plan. But then it's the whole like coulda, woulda, shoulda.
yeah,
Yeah, that if I decided to run through the night, then I might have been in the right state the next morning. I don't know. So it's Bobby Cullen, isn't it, who I was talking to Alice Kershaw about this, that
right, yeah,
Bobby, he made a post about how what he'd done wrong this year, and how he keeps coming back to the race because he wants to correct something that he's done wrong, but then the next time he does the race, he does something else wrong, and then
yeah.
has to come back. And it's just basically just an excuse to keep coming back every
Of
year with
course it is. Yeah,
the race.
it's
Uh,
very rarely on something of that magnitude as well that everything goes
yeah,
right. There's just hundreds and little things that happen, isn't there? That you,
yeah,
again, going back to what Damo said, you've got to be adaptable, and
yeah, hundred
got to be a
percent.
problem solver, a puzzle, master, and try and attack things that are thrown at you on the go. Tired, hungry, and yeah, it's he who dares or she who dares, isn't
It is, yeah.
it?
It's funny, isn't it? Because at the end of the race last year, my wife Kate, bless her, she was like, right, you're not going to do it again. You've itched you've scratched that itch now, haven't you? And I was like, yeah, yeah, it's fine. I don't need to do it again. And she videoed me at Kurt Yevon saying, yeah, it's okay. I won't do the race again because I've done it. And she's like, "Oh, I'm holding you to this. I'm holding you to it." But then as like the years gone on, and obviously like you're seeing the race again this year and getting FOMO, and everyone's like, "So you're going to do it again?" And I'm like, yeah, I've just got to find a way to let my wife like
Let
be
her know.
that it's okay
Yeah.
for me to do again. Because like you say, it's the whole coulda, woulda, shoulda.
Yeah.
You think, if I go back, then I will run through that, through that first night as much as possible. I will try and sleep less at checkpoints. I will like make a conscious effort to not faff as much at
Yeah.
checkpoint. But that's like a bit of a thing that I've sort of got into as I've got older. Like I was saying this to somebody, how I used to like, because I've always sort of, over the years, I've ran to work. That's been the majority of my training has been commuting backwards and forwards to work. And I used to literally be able to, like, my alarm would go off at like 6:30, and I could roll out of bed, have a coffee, do the business, get ready, and be out the door like at 7 o'clock, bang on. And now I need a full hour to get ready to go to run to work, and I don't know what I'm doing. Just takes me a full hour to do what I used to do in half an hour. So I
Yeah,
think that in the spine race just gets extrapolated even more.
100%.
The
Yeah,
point that you'll know this. You can just stand and look at your bag, can't you, for like an hour,
yeah,
trying to figure out what bit of kit you need to get out of your bag, and you can just be stood there like wasting time, not doing anything, and before you know it, like 2 or 3 hours have gone, and you could have literally have just come in and done exactly what you needed to do in like 15 minutes, had a nap, and been out the door, in 2 hours or something. And
yeah,
that's
definitely.
like, that's generous.
That was a bit like myself and Robin at Bellingham. We were both in there, although we both did have, we both, weird, we both had the same, we had to get our hypodermic needles out. We both had a blister each. She had one or two, and I had one on one toe, and one on the other. And apart from that, we didn't really need to be in there for as long as I mean, I can't remember the stats on how long we were at Bellingham, but again, that's a checkpoint that, it wasn't raining or anything like that. We could have been in and out, but I think we'd accepted then we were where we were in the race and we were going to finish it. And, you know, again, looking back on it, that it wasn't just that checkpoint. There was a few others that you could have shaved some time off, and that's all part of the jigsaw, if you like, of if you go back, those accumulative hours or minutes.
Mm.
Um, and then you start doing the maths on where you could have been and should have been, and it's so interesting, and that's what's so fascinating about the race. It's so long that
Mm.
it's the whole adaptability thing I keep going back to for yeah, trying to get the dream race, if you like.
Yeah,
I'm
that's it.
fascinated. I'm fascinated by it. So,
There's
yeah,
so many facets to the race, isn't there?
yeah,
Like with everything that you can do, everything that's in your control, and then there's stuff that's obviously not in your control, but everybody else has got those same,
exactly.
like
Yeah,
when you've got bad conditions, everybody's got bad conditions. So, that's like the equalizer, isn't it? But there's always something you can do better in there, and it's
yeah,
obviously it's only afterwards that you look back into it and realize that there's something that you could have done a little bit better, or a little bit quicker.
yeah. There's no. I'm a big advocate for the saying. There's no script. There's no script for life.
Yeah.
Um, we're all dealt cards, etc., and it's how you deal with them, and that's the outcome at the end of the day. And yeah, so you sort of got to turn some situations or negative situations into positive situations, or even just situations that you can get through by tweaking something, And I'm a big advocate for that. So
Mm.
um,
But how sort of your experience on the race this year then, how is that going to affect I'm presuming that you go coming back next year for the for the 2026 race. How, if that is the case, what are you sort of going to do differently this year in the lead up to next year's race if you do come back next year?
yeah, it's too. I'll be honest with you, and I don't want to say too much now because I've got a lot on this year, and you know, with a few other bits and pieces. So I'm just going to take each event as it comes. I'm still in sort of major recovery. I've done 2 cycles and I tried a little 10K yesterday, just real gentle dog jog. I've still got a bit of swelling on my right foot, so I'm not going to start saying I'm 100% going back, but the spine's definitely that type of race is definitely what I'm I've becoming more attracted to as I sort of learn this art of ultra running. I think the longer um, one pushes, if you like. Um, so yeah, I am signed up to a race in May, which I've discussed it with my coach, and it might be a little bit too soon for the spine, whether to give an elite performance, but I'm just going to see how the body reacts in the next month or two, and
Mm.
just take each step, yeah, slowly, and as long as I'm enjoying it, and training with others. My wife's got right into her running, which is fantastic. So's my son, and I just enjoy it, you know. And the races are just a product of your training and helping others. And like I said to you before, we've got a big running club, so as long as I'm enjoying running, these events are just bonuses for me, if I'm honest with you. Um, the running isn't just for me. It's for other people as well. You know, I work with a lot of people, without going into it too much, and we all help each other, and that's what, you know, I touched on it before. This community is incredible. You know,
Mm.
I haven't known you 2 minutes, and I trust you. Do you know what I mean? You just
Yeah.
got that
Understanding.
aura and understanding. You know, just saying, walking around that running show the other day, and there's not. I know you get some people that you look at and you think, bloody hell, what are you wearing that for, or something like that. You know, like there's a few people walking around in yeah, hot pants and tights and stuff like that, whatever floats your boat. But they're all nice people that are just expressing themselves in their
Mm.
running, you know. And
Mm.
I just, yeah.
So you're saying I shouldn't have worn hot pants to the
No,
national?
definitely not. You look like a lumberjack. You had a black and white shirt on. I thought you were going to whip the old chess pieces out with your daughter.
I still,
You'll get
I
conscious
still,
now. You'll have to wear that, isn't you, on the media team next year? The old
I
black
still,
and white shirt.
yeah, I still think that I'm, well, somehow like fashion from the 90s has come back round again. So, you know, I was like, you know, well, I still am, still into my grunge and stuff. So, you know, I was a big grunge kid in the 90s, and so having like wearing like Converse pumps and stuff,
Yeah.
and,
I
and
didn't notice you. You didn't have your hat on.
yeah, I did
And then
have
you
my
just whipped it out. You're like, yeah, see, this is my
still
hat.
got it, still got it. Yeah, that yeah, I won't have to wear my hat as much now. You know, for the listening audience, yeah, I've the long hair that I had been growing for like a year is now pretty much gone. So
Yeah.
I'm back to like I don't have to wear a cap all the time now. So a
Yeah.
lot of people didn't recognize me at the running show. They kind of like looked at me as if to say, "I know who you are, but you're not wearing a baseball cap. Don't look
Yeah.
right." Um,
Brilliant.
one of the things that yeah you've sort of touched on that yeah, I spoke to your mate that was with you at the end, Kurt Yevon, and he, you know, he was sort of gave me like a quick interview and sort of said how impressed he was with you, obviously, but he was sort of talking about the community that you've sort of developed with, you know, with this group of runners. So how did that sort of begin then? Was that all part of your sort of recovery and getting back into civilization after, you know, after you quit drinking and everything? Was that all part of that as your recovery?
Yeah. And like I say, a big part of me getting better and well and staying on the straight and narrow is talking to like-minded people, you know, and people that have gone through similar things that I have, with whether that be addiction or just struggling, with things in general. And yeah, we just started meeting with like I said to you, that Ian, who got me on my first trail run back in 2016, 2017 with him. And there was two or three of us meeting at the Georgian Falcon, which was ironically a pub car park. And yeah, on the South Downs there. And it's, you know, it's got Beacon Hill, which is about 260 odd meters and things like that. So we were going up there, and we were doing like a beacon loop, which was about 8 or 9 miles, and it was a nice little route. And we started up a WhatsApp group, and that was in like 20, about 21, 22. We started meeting there, and yeah, we just haven't looked back. So I've just done my run leader course, and I think we've got about 100, nearly 100 people in the WhatsApp group now. And there's, you know, we post sessions on there every Sunday night for the week. And like I said to you before, and that's what I love about this, you've got a right mixed bag, and it sort of strips you down. It doesn't matter who you are or where you've come from, what job you've got, or anything, you know. Everyone's there for their own, you know. And it's almost like, without getting too corny, it's sometimes you won't even speak much to a few of them, but it's like almost like a counselling session. Do you know what I mean? Like you chat to people, and I don't think I've ever been on a run, and I don't know about you, or even like a a fast walk with some of the beginners or whatever, and regretted it. You always come back from a run. I don't care who you are, unless it's a fartlek session or 10, 10 times 3 minutes at 15% on level 10 or whatever. When your heart rate's up at 185. Um, but that I wish I didn't do that. I wish I didn't go out. I don't care, and you always take a little bit back with you. And the friendships that I've made with ultra running are the realest, what I call real friendships. Okay, people that you can ring any hour of the day, or even do some, like I just said to you, then you haven't even got to say anything to them, and you just know they're there for you. And do you know what I mean? And that's special, and that's
Mm,
the community that we've built. And you've got people that are ex-convicts, ex-drug addicts. We've even got police officers, lawyers, and they're all striving for different distances, different races, doing their first race in Europe, and this group that we've um, created just bounces knowledge, emotion, um, and yeah, just it's just a fantastic. It's like a community.
mm.
I can't really explain it, but
Yeah,
yeah, I feel really proud to be part of, if I'm honest.
mm,
And the
yeah, it's
kids as well. Like you know what it's like. You've got. I think I met your daughter at the running shows. No, you try getting your. I remember 12. My son, he's 15. He was 12, I think. We went on holiday, and I was trying to get him out for a run. And you can't. You know what it's like with kids. You can't force them to.
not
But
made.
this group, he's seen it, and my daughters have seen it, and posted on social. They see these people, and some of them are younger, older, and they just thrive off them. They come to some of the sessions. Like my son's 15, and I wouldn't say he boxed and played football a bit like me, but he wasn't really into his running. And now he's loving it, and it's not about how fast he can run a 5K or a 10K or his park run. It's he's gone out and done a 50K at the Maverick event this year, last year, the back end of last year, and he's 15 years old. He's got his PE teachers messaging us saying, "What's going on with Riley?" And it's not us. Well, we've got a bit to do with, but it's the group that he sees, and he's bouncing ideas off of people in the group, and it's just fantastic, and it's infectious,
Mm.
and you know, so yeah, just really
That's
proud to be part of that community, if I'm honest.
yeah, it's great. Like there was like a bit of a boom with like social running groups, trail social running groups during sort of lockdown and everything. I used to organize them as well. Do occasionally organize some now. Um, but I think, I've been in a running club before and I enjoyed being in a running club, but it's not quite the same as being in like a trail running social group where you meet up and because there's almost like another level of understanding in there with
Mm.
ultra running than trail running. You kind of it's not quite the same as I can't imagine feeling comfortable enough to sort of talk about problems with, you know, some random person that I met when you're on a track session or something, like
Get that?
with a
Yeah,
running club. But, you know, power hiking up the side of a hill in the Peak District, you find yourself talking about all sorts of things. So
definitely.
yeah, I think so. It's almost like its own little microcosm, isn't it?
Yeah,
Of like you say, it's like support, isn't it? It's almost like you go and you get in your exercise and you get in your counselling as well, aren't you? So
definitely.
it's
Yeah,
kind of a win-win situation, isn't it?
yeah. Yeah, and I'll make this is a mini sort of platform, but I'll keep this in it, and that's if anyone is listening to this and they're struggling, just give me a message, or don't you know add us on Instagram, the Georgian Falcon Trail Runners, because there's hundreds of people that are listening to you and give you a bit of advice. And I think some people need to hear it sometimes.
Mm.
That you're only one conversation away from sorting out a problem.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, I thought I'd add that in there.
Yeah, no, that's good. If you've got like links to it and stuff, if it's like you've got groups and stuff, or you want to share the link to
Yeah,
the WhatsApp group, we can put that in the show notes and everything on
I
the
appreciate that,
on
Sam. Yeah,
both versions. Yeah, the video version and the audio version to because that's the beauty of trail running and the beauty of like the community. Like you say, you feel at ease with people, don't you, instantly?
yeah,
You meet somebody for
definitely.
the first time on a race and you'll have had this, when you start off a race and it's just somebody that you catch up with or they catch up with you, and you sort of look at them, sort of side eye them, you're right, and then a few hours later, you know absolutely everything about them. You know what their cats are called,
Yeah,
kids are called, how old they are, what they do for a job, and
yeah.
that's I can't imagine doing that on like a road marathon. It
No,
seems like
definitely not. It's all obsessed about time. And don't get me wrong, when you're at the sharper end, it is, and I'll make no bones about it. And as I get better and more knowledgeable, yeah, it is about that as well. But there's more to this than just the time. Exactly what you just said. I couldn't imagine running the London Marathon and buddying up with someone and talking to them about recovery or
yeah,
what why they're feeling down or whatever. Do you know what I mean? It's all about time and quick pace for. Whereas yeah, something about trail running and ultra running that yeah, it's a bit more open, a bit more of an
great.
open book and that.
It's a great sport, isn't it? And
Yeah,
I mean, we don't have to advertise it to the people listening to this and watching this because they're already ultra runners and trail runners. But it's
yeah,
more people, and I suppose as the sport grows, you often hear it sort of banded around that trail running is like the fastest growing sport, and you hear that about a lot of sports. But I think to a certain degree it is true, isn't it? That it's
definitely.
very accessible. You can well, you say it's accessible, that the old lie that all you need is a pair of trainers. It's not quite the case with the spine race.
Crikey, yeah, yeah, the kit. Crikey, we'll have to do another podcast on kit, Sam. I think. Crikey.
Yeah, that's a
That's,
podcast that I normally do with Lindley Chambers from
yeah,
Spine Race, and he can literally talk for a whole hour. Well, he could talk for hours about kit. Absolutely.
oh, he's a legend, isn't he? Yeah, I
Yeah.
yeah, I thought I had my kit nailed, and then yeah, I still had a few hiccups in kit check. I didn't have
Yeah,
enough.
yeah. What happened? Because I don't know the details of
Oh,
what you got pulled up on and stuff.
well,
What was it?
I stupid. I think I printed off. So my wife was doing my medical bit, and I've printed off the 22-23 manual. Unbeknown, it was on obviously on a PDF
Yeah.
online, and I got like the alcohol wipes and the antiseptic wipes mixed up, so I didn't have one or the other. I can't really remember, so I had to buy. It was only pence, but I had to buy some off Lindley, and then what else did I forgot? There was something else I forgot, so I ended up being about another half hour in kit check because we were going to and from the car. We were like, I swear I had it, and we ended up finding it, something in the boot that that had fallen at the back, and yeah, it was a bit of to and fro, but we got there in the end.
Yeah, it's quite stressful, isn't it?
My kids found it comical. It was quite funny because the queue's quite serious, wasn't it? I think I saw you, and you had, I think Dave Phillips was behind me, and there was a few others, and John Kelly had just walked out, and he was getting interviewed, and you had three feral kids. You had Riley talking to the media team. My middle one was making snow angels in the snow, and Flair was just singing, and it was quite comical. We were like like the Dingles that turned up. It's quite funny. Yeah.
It could be quite stressful kit check, but I suppose having your family there with you, it sort
Oh,
of
it's nice. Yeah.
takes the edge off it, doesn't it? And
Yeah, it does.
I think there's so many people that even people that keep coming back to the race still get stuff wrong with the kit and everything. I saw Lindley at Hard Draw, and it was the kit check for Challenger North, and he said that so far by that point he'd sold £4,000 worth of equipment.
Honestly, bloody hell.
I mean, I might be getting that wrong, but as I remember it, 4 grand's worth of kit. So obviously, there's a lot of expensive bits of kit in there, like
Definitely.
sleeping bags and that kind of stuff. That's obviously not just all hypodermic needles and antiseptic wipes and stuff, is it? That's a lot of
Yeah.
serious kit. Mm.
But you go on about the kit, but I don't know, it's a subject that, a lot of people talk about on the spine. But it's all there for a purpose, isn't it? When everyone kept saying about hypodermic needles and that, but look at me, Robin and I both used them at
Mm.
Bellingham, and they
Yeah.
came in really handy, and each bit of kit's got a part to play if the situation
You need it. Mm.
arose. Yeah, 100%, it's a list that is altered slightly each year,
Yeah.
as we saw by me printing off 22 and 23, and it's all there for a reason. So no, big respect to Lindley and the spine team, because you know you've only got to hear of some of these tragedies. Look what happened in China that time on that
Yeah.
trail
Yeah.
race, and they didn't have sufficient gear. So I'm all for it, and yeah,
Yeah, it's I know people do have very public opinions about it. I know John Kelly had his
yeah,
his usual gripe about
big, didn't he? Yeah,
it. But I think he always does every year. There's always something, and I think Lindley, he's got a bit of like a cat and mouse game with Lindley. Like Lindley will add something to the kit, and John will like find a way around it or make it awkward for himself, and then Lindy has to revise the kit for the next year and stuff, and it's just like a constant thing that evolves. But like you say, if you needed one of those bits of kit, it's like ridiculous as some of them seem at times. Um, if you need to use it and you end up
yeah,
using it in a race and it saves your life, then you're more than happy to carry it, aren't you? If it
100%.
was gonna save your life.
Yeah, you say about that cat and mouse. Can you remember John come out at kit check and they wouldn't sign his phone off, would they? Because he,
Oh,
he
yeah.
didn't know his number. I think he bought a SIM card as soon as he touched into the UK, and he didn't know his own phone number. So he was trying to get signal to ring HQ so that he could give him his number. It's brilliant. And they wouldn't sign it. Yeah, they wouldn't. They're stubborn, aren't they? They wouldn't give him
Yeah.
sign off. It was
But that's the good thing is that everybody gets treated the same, don't they? So
yeah, yeah,
whether you're returning winner of the spine race and hold the record for the Pennine Way and stuff, you're still
yeah,
treated exactly the same
definitely,
as somebody doing the race for the first time. If you haven't got the kit, you haven't got the kit, and yeah, that keeps everyone safe.
definitely.
100%. Yeah. Um, Listen, mate, I could literally talk to you all night, but
Yeah, no, loved it. Yeah,
I'm aware that we need to end this at some point. But I know for a fact that we're going to be able to sort of come back to this subject again
definitely.
and talk in the future. Um, so I'm looking forward to having you back again, after you do some amazing things, because, I get a feeling about some people and what they're going to do in the sport, and I know that you're one of those people that big things are in your future, mate. I 100% believe it.
No, I really appreciate that, Sam, and thanks for having me on and giving me a chance to tell you a little bit of my story. And I look forward to seeing you again in the future,
Yeah,
mate. All right,
yeah. Maybe we'll end up on a race together at some point.
definitely, or
Not
a
so,
training run, or you'll have to come out with the Georgian Falcons.
yeah, 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 exactly.
Definitely, yeah. If
Um,
we're up your way, we'll nip in.
yeah, yeah, do it.
Top
I'll
man.
hold you to that. Cheers, mate.
Cheers,
Right,
Sam. Take care, mate.
thanks for coming on and giving up your time, mate. And Yeah, appreciate that. Everything you do for the sport, and thanks to everyone for listening as well. So cheers and bye,
Ciao, ciao.
everyone. Bye bye.
Cheers, Sam.
Bye bye.